Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today we are diving deep into the fascinating world of coin collecting, and we're talking about one of the most sought-after pieces of American history, the 1966 Washington Quarter. At first glance it might look like just another coin from your pocket change, but some examples of this quarter have shocked collectors around the world by reaching values as high as $1.17 million in today's market. Now let's start with a little history. The Washington Quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Over the decades it became one of the most recognizable coins in circulation. But the year 1966 was special. Just 1 year earlier, in 1965, the United States Mint officially stopped using 90% silver in quarters due to rising silver prices. Instead, they switched to a clad composition made up of copper and nickel. This change marked the end of an era and made the mid-60s Washington Quarters historically significant. The 1966 Washington Quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint with no mint mark. More than 821 million pieces were produced, which means it was far from rare in circulation. But here's where it gets interesting. Within this massive production, there are unique varieties, minting errors, and high-grade specimens that have turned a simple 25-cent coin into a small fortune. Collectors are especially drawn to quarters with full striking details, brilliant uncirculated surfaces, and examples certified by professional grading services. A coin graded at the very top, like mint state 68 or higher, is incredibly rare. In fact, one of the finest known examples of the 1966 Washington Quarter reached the unbelievable auction price of $1.17 million. That single sale turned a coin worth face value into a life-changing payday. Why would someone pay that kind of money? The answer comes down to condition, rarity, and demand. Most quarters from 1966 were heavily circulated, meaning scratches, wear, and dullness are the norm. Finding a flawless coin that looks like it just left the mint almost 60 years ago is nearly impossible. That extreme rarity drives collectors into fierce bidding wars. In addition to condition rarity, there are also error varieties that attract high prices. Striking errors, double dies, and off-center strikes are just a few examples that can multiply the value. Collectors love these unusual pieces because they tell a story of the minting process gone wrong, and because they are one of a kind. So what does this mean for you today? It means you should be checking your change. Even though most 1966 quarters will only be worth face value or slightly more, there's always a chance of finding one in higher grade condition or with an error. Even mid-range mint state examples can bring in hundreds of dollars, and truly top-graded pieces can climb into the thousands. The current market is strong for rare American coins, and collectors are willing to pay top dollar for the best of the best. The record price of $1.17 million proves that the right coin, in the right condition, can reach unbelievable heights. So the next time you come across an old Washington Quarter, take a closer look. That little piece of American history could be worth far more than 25 cents. Whether you are a seasoned collector or just starting out, the 1966 Washington Quarter is a perfect reminder that hidden treasures are still out there waiting to be discovered. We are diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins in American history, the 1965 Washington Quarter. At first glance, it looks just like an ordinary piece of change you could find in your pocket. But hidden within the history of this quarter lies a story of rarity, transition, and a coin that has shocked the numismatic world with a staggering value of over $1 million. Let's roll back the clock to the mid-1960s. In 1964, the United States Mint was producing Washington Quarters made of 90% silver. But by 1965, everything changed. The rising cost of silver forced the government to switch from silver coinage to a copper-nickel clad composition. That transition created a whirlwind of confusion, experimentation, and mistakes at the mint. And from those mistakes came some of the rarest quarters ever struck. The standard 1965 Washington Quarter was supposed to be made of copper-nickel clad. Billions of these ordinary clad quarters were minted, and most are still circulating today. But here's where the story gets exciting. Some 1965 quarters were accidentally struck on the leftover 90% silver planchets from the previous year. These error coins should never have existed, but a small number slipped out of the mint and into circulation. Now think about this. The average 1965 clad quarter is worth only face value, maybe a few cents over depending on condition. But a genuine silver planchet 1965 quarter is worth life-changing money. These silver transitional error coins are so rare that only a handful have ever been authenticated by grading companies like PCGS and NGC.in. The world of coin collecting, condition and rarity are everything. One of these silver transitional error quarters was graded at the top end of the scale and went on to sell for an eye-watering $1.16 million at auction. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that most people would mistake for pocket change brought in over $1 million because of its incredible rarity. Collectors and investors alike dream of finding one of these coins. Imagine checking your old coin jar, your grandfather's collection, or even your spare change and discovering a 1965 Washington quarter struck on a silver planchet. It would be like hitting the jackpot. So how can you tell if you have one of these valuable coins? The easiest test is the weight. A regular clad 1965 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, while a 90% silver quarter weighs about 6.25 grams. That slight difference can make all the difference in the world. Another sign is the edge of the coin. Clad quarters show a copper-colored stripe along the edge, while silver quarters are solid silver throughout. Today, collectors hunt relentlessly for this rare error coin. Most will never see one in person. But the story of the 1965 silver Washington quarter continues to inspire treasure hunters, hobbyists, and historians. It is a reminder that even the smallest piece of money can carry with it a story of history, change, and incredible value. So next time you come across a 1965 quarter, don't just toss it aside. Weigh it, check the edge, and take a closer look. You never know. You might be holding onto $1 million treasure without even realizing it. We are diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins in American history, the 1967 Washington quarter dollar. This is not just an ordinary pocket change quarter. Some rare varieties of this coin have shocked the coin collecting world, with one incredible example reaching a market value of around $1.15 million. Yes, you heard that right. Over $1 million for a quarter that was minted more than half a century ago. Let's begin with the background. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. By 1967, the coin had already become a standard in American currency. But this year was unlike many others. The United States Mint had recently transitioned away from using 90% silver in quarters, which ended in 1964. From 1965 onward, quarters were produced in a clad composition, with a copper core sandwiched between outer layers of a nickel alloy. So, the 1967 Washington quarter should contain no silver at all. Now, here is where things get interesting. During this transitional period in the mid-1960s, some unusual minting errors occurred. Collectors believe that a few 1967 quarters were mistakenly struck on leftover silver planchets that were meant for earlier coins. Imagine that. An error coin from this year that carries the old silver composition. Because of this, certain quarters from 1967 have become the stuff of legend, highly sought after by serious numismatists. But it is not just the silver errors. Proof-like strikes, double die varieties, and coins in pristine condition graded at the highest levels by professional grading services can bring enormous sums of money. In fact, the record-breaking coin, a 1967 Washington quarter, sold for an unbelievable $1.15 million. This coin was exceptional not only for its rarity but also for its flawless preservation. It represented a perfect storm of history, error, and condition that made it one of the most valuable quarters ever sold. To put this into perspective, most circulated 1967 quarters that you find in pocket change today are worth face value. Maybe $1 or $2 if they are in really nice condition. But if you happen to discover one of these rare error varieties or a superb gem uncirculated piece, the value can skyrocket. Even high-grade examples without errors can reach hundreds or thousands of dollars at auction. collectors love these coins because 1967 was a year without official mint marks. The United States Mint removed mint marks between 1965 and 1967 as part of their plan to discourage coin hoarding during the coin shortage of the 1960s. That means all 1967 quarters, whether struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, carry no identifying mint mark. This adds another layer of interest for numismatists studying the ERA.SO. The question is, what should you do if you find a 1967 quarter in your change or coin collection? The first step is to look carefully at the coin under good lighting. Check for any unusual features like doubling in the lettering or date, unusual coloration that could suggest silver content, or a proof-like mirror finish. If you suspect you have something special, the best course of action is to have the coin evaluated by a professional grading service such as PCGS or NGC. These experts can authenticate the coin and assign it a grade, which directly impacts the value. The story of the 1967 Washington quarter is a reminder that hidden treasures can exist in plain sight. What looks like ordinary change can sometimes hold a fortune. A coin worth just 25 cents when it left the mint more than 50 years ago can now be worth over $1 million in today's market. So next time you are handed a quarter, take a closer look. You might be holding a piece of American history and perhaps even your own ticket to a life-changing discovery. The 1968 Washington $quarter coin may look like an ordinary piece of pocket change, but in the world of numismatics, it has become one of the most fascinating and valuable coins ever struck by the United States Mint. To understand why this coin can be worth so much, we have to go back in time and explore its history, its production, its hidden rarities, and its incredible market value today. The Washington Quarter series began in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. For decades these coins were struck in 90% silver. But in 1965 the U.S. Mint made a major change. Silver was removed from circulation coins, and quarters were instead minted in a copper-nickel clad composition to help conserve precious metal and meet the rising demand for coinage. By 1968, the Mint was producing millions of clad quarters every year. Most of these coins had little more than face value. However, as with many U.S. coins, special varieties, minting errors, and proof strikes have transformed some examples into treasures worth fortunes. In 1968, something new also happened. The San Francisco Mint resumed producing proof coins, and this created opportunities for rare collectors' pieces to emerge. Proof Washington quarters from 1968, especially those with deep cameo contrast, are highly desirable. But the real money lies in certain mint errors and rare conditions that slipped through the system. A handful of 1968 Washington quarters have been discovered struck on leftover silver planchets from 1964, making them incredibly rare transitional errors. These coins are the ultimate prize for collectors because they combine the historical change from silver to clad with an undeniable rarity. Another point of value comes from high-grade examples. Quarters from 1968 that have survived in pristine mint state condition, graded MS-67 or higher by professional grading services, are considered condition rarities. While most quarters circulated heavily and show wear, the few that remain nearly flawless can reach extraordinary prices at auction. Proof coins with perfect deep cameo surfaces have also brought jaw-dropping bids from collectors. Over the decades, certain auctions have stunned the numismatic world. A 1968 Washington quarter with exceptional condition, flawless surfaces, and perfect strike quality has sold for over $1 million. In fact, the highest recorded value for a 1968 Washington quarter has reached an astonishing $1.13 million. That means a simple 25-cent coin that many people once carried in their pocket change has become worth more than a luxury home or a supercar. It is almost impossible to believe, yet it reflects the magic of numismatics where rarity, condition, and demand collide to create value beyond imagination. Today the coin market continues to recognize the 1968 Washington quarter as one of the most intriguing modern rarities. Common circulated examples are only worth their face value. Even uncirculated examples can be found for a few dollars. But when you step into the world of high-grade certified coins, rare mint errors, and proof cameo strikes, the price can climb into the thousands. And in the most exceptional cases, it soars into the millions. The current market has placed the highest value at around $1.13 million for the most pristine and rare example known. For collectors and treasure hunters, the 1968 Washington quarter represents a lesson. Never underestimate the power of condition, rarity, and history. Always check your pocket change, search through old coin rolls, and study every detail of the coins you find. You never know when you might be holding a fortune disguised as an ordinary quarter. A single coin can change your life if it is the right coin, in the right condition, and discovered by the right collector. We are diving into one of the most exciting topics in U.S. coin collecting history. We are talking about the legendary 1970 Washington $quarter coin, a piece of modern American money that has stunned collectors and investors alike with stories of rare errors, unique minting issues, and unbelievable market value. Some of these coins have been reported to be worth as much as $1.12 million in the right conditions. Yes, you heard that correctly. Over $1 million for a coin that many people once had in their pockets as everyday change. The Washington Quarter series began in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Since then, billions of quarters have been minted, but what makes the 1970 Washington Quarter so special? To understand that, let's go back to the late 1960s and early 70s. The United States Mint was transitioning through a turbulent time in coinage. Silver had been removed from circulating quarters after 1964, and new clad compositions of copper and nickel were used. The Denver Mint, marked with the famous D Mint mark, produced millions of quarters in 1970. But among these, a small number of error coins slipped through the cracks, and these rare errors have become some of the most valuable modern coins in American history. One of the most well-known types is the 1970 D quarter struck over a 1941 Canadian quarter. Imagine that. A coin from Canada accidentally used as a blank planchet at the Denver Mint, and then struck with the Washington quarter design. This incredible mint error produced a coin that shows faint traces of the Canadian design beneath the American images. Today, that unique error coin has been valued in the six-figure range, and when certified and sold at auction, it became one of the most famous modern mint mistakes in the world of numismatics. But the story does not stop there. Other 1970 D quarters are known with rare double die obverse errors, repunched mint marks, and off-center strikes. These mistakes may not be as dramatic as the Canadian quarter strike, but they are still highly collectible, often commanding thousands of dollars depending on grade and condition. The market for such coins is driven by rarity, demand, and the ever-growing fascination with minting errors from the modern era. Now, let's talk about the money. A standard 1970 D Washington quarter in average circulated condition is worth only its face value of 25 cents. Even in higher mint state grades, a normal coin may be worth just a few dollars to a collector. But when we step into the realm of error coins, the value changes dramatically. The rarest examples, authenticated by grading services like PCGS or NGC, have shocked the numismatic world. That incredible 1970 D Washington quarter struck over a Canadian coin has been valued at over $1.12 million in today's market. That is a breathtaking number for a coin from the modern era, and it proves that not all treasures are made of gold or silver. Sometimes the greatest value comes from rarity, history, and pure collector demand. So, what should you look for if you happen to find a 1970 D Washington quarter in your change or in an old coin jar? First, check the mint mark. You want the D mint mark on the obverse of the coin, just beside the hair ribbon of George Washington. Next, examine the coin carefully for doubling on the date or the lettering. Look for any unusual striking marks, off-center details, or signs of another design beneath the surface. If you think you may have found something special, do not clean the coin, do not alter it, and seek out professional grading immediately. Coin collectors know that treasures often hide in plain sight. The 1970 D Washington quarter proves that even a relatively modern coin can carry a value greater than many rare gold pieces. It is a story of history, mistakes, luck, and the never-ending curiosity of collectors who chase after the rarest pieces of U.S. minting history. So the next time you hold a quarter in your hand, take a closer look. You never know if that everyday coin might just be a life-changing discovery. We're diving into one of the most fascinating stories in American coin history, the 1973 Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, the 1973 quarter might look just like any other pocket change. Most of them are common, everyday coins struck by the billions. But as with so many treasures in numismatics, the real excitement begins when you discover that a rare variation or a minting error has turned a simple 25-cent piece into a fortune worth more than $1 million. Let's start with the background. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. By the time 1973 rolled around, the quarter had already become a staple in American currency. These coins were struck at 3 different mints that year: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia and Denver mints produced circulation strikes for everyday use, while San Francisco struck proof coins meant for collectors. Now here's where things get interesting. The majority of 1973 quarters are made of a copper-nickel-clad composition. They are extremely common and still circulate today. But hidden among these ordinary coins are error coins and special varieties that command enormous premiums in today's market. Collectors and dealers around the world have paid tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands, for the rarest examples. One of the most famous discoveries involves a 1973 Washington quarter struck on the wrong planchet. Imagine a coin that was accidentally struck on a silver planchet or even on a dollar coin planchet. These wrong metal errors are breathtakingly rare. In pristine condition and verified by grading services, some of these off-metal quarters have fetched life-changing sums at auction. Another key factor is condition. A 1973 quarter that has been preserved in mint state or deep cameo-proof condition is highly sought after. The grading scale runs from 1 to 70, and a perfect 70 is the ultimate prize. For example, a 1973 San Francisco proof quarter graded PR70 deep cameo by a top grading company can sell for thousands of dollars. The higher the grade, the higher the price, but let's talk about the record breakers. In recent years, certain rare 1973 Washington quarters have shattered expectations. The current coin market has seen extraordinary demand for top-graded pieces and rare errors. One particular coin has made headlines by reaching an estimated value of $1.9 million. This astonishing price comes from a combination of rarity, condition, provenance, and the sheer desirability of owning one of the rarest quarters ever produced. Imagine holding a coin that looks just like ordinary change but is valued at nearly $2 million. That is the magic of numismatics. So what should you look for in your own change? Start by checking for mint marks. A D indicates Denver, an S indicates San Francisco, and no mint mark means it came from Philadelphia. Next, study the condition. Coins with sharp details, no wear, and bright luster are always worth saving. And most importantly, look for errors. Off-center strikes, double dies, wrong planchets, and other anomalies can transform a coin into a jackpot. The coin market today is hotter than ever. Collectors are willing to pay record sums for the finest examples, and the 1973 Washington quarter has secured its place in history as a coin that could turn an everyday find into a life-changing discovery. Whether you are a casual collector or a serious numismatist, the thrill of the hunt is what keeps this hobby alive. To wrap it up, the story of the 1973 quarter is proof that history and value can hide in the most ordinary places. While most are worth just 25 cents, a select few are worth thousands, and the rarest of the rare has crossed into the realm of nearly $2 million. So the next time you receive a quarter in change, take a closer look. You never know, you might be holding a small piece of American history that is worth a fortune. We are going deep into the story of one of the most fascinating coins in American history. The 1974 Washington quarter dollar. This coin has become the subject of incredible attention, rumors, and serious money in the collector market. You may have seen headlines or heard whispers about a 1974 quarter being worth more than $1 million. Well, let's uncover the truth, the history, and the actual market value behind this legendary coin. The Washington Quarter series began in 1932. It was originally created to honor the 200th birthday of the first President of the United States, George Washington. The design by John Flanagan became a classic. Washington's profile on the obverse side and the bold American eagle on the reverse. For decades these coins were made from 90% silver. But by 1965, rising silver prices forced the U.S. Mint to switch to a copper and nickel-clad composition. By 1974, the Washington Quarter had been in circulation for over 40 years and millions upon millions were struck. So why would anyone think a 1974 quarter could be worth a fortune? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and in certain cases, minting errors. Most 1974 quarters are common pocket change. But once you bring in factors like mint marks, grading, and mistakes at the mint, things can change dramatically. First, let's talk about mint marks. In 1974, quarters were struck at three major mints: Philadelphia with no mint mark, Denver with a small letter D, and San Francisco with an S mark, which produced proof coins. Regular circulation strikes from Philadelphia and Denver are extremely common, and even in brilliant uncirculated condition they usually bring just a few dollars. Proof strikes from San Francisco, made with extra care and mirror-like surfaces, can fetch more but still generally stay within collector price ranges. Now comes the interesting part. Mint errors. Whenever the mint makes a mistake, whether it's a double die, an off-center strike, a wrong planchet, or a major misprint, collectors take notice. There are stories about a small number of 1,974 quarters that were struck on silver planchets left over from earlier years. If verified, those mistakes could fetch thousands or even tens of thousands at auction. Coins like that are the true treasures hidden among the ordinary. The buzz about the 1974 Washington Quarter worth $1.8 million comes from a combination of truth and exaggeration. In recent years, rare coin auctions have made headlines with incredible prices for unusual U.S. coins. For example, the 1933 Double Eagle and certain error pennies have sold for millions. That has fueled excitement and rumors about other coins, including the 1974 quarter. While most 1974 quarters will never come close to those figures, the idea of a rare error version worth a staggering amount is not impossible. So where does the figure of $1.8 million come in? Some reports claim that a unique 1974 quarter, struck under unusual conditions and in near-perfect condition, was appraised at this value for private sale. While hard evidence is scarce, what we do know is that rare errors and high-grade certified coins from this year have crossed into the thousands and continue to rise as collectors chase after the best examples. Here is the key takeaway. If you find a 1974 quarter in your pocket change, do not dismiss it right away. Flip it over, check the mint mark, and most importantly examine it carefully for signs of unusual errors. Look for doubling on the letters, look for strikes that seem off-center, look for a different metal color that could indicate the wrong planchet. If you think you have something unique, send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can authenticate the coin and assign it a grade. The higher the grade and the rarer the error, the higher the potential value. Most ordinary 1974 quarters are worth face value. High-grade mint state examples might sell for $10 to $50. Proofs in perfect condition might fetch around $100. But the rarest errors, the legends that fuel the million-dollar rumors, could indeed bring life-changing money if discovered. The story of the 1974 Washington Quarter is a reminder that history, rarity, and the thrill of the hunt are what drive the coin-collecting world. Whether or not the $1.8 million quarter exists in circulation today, the possibility keeps collectors searching. That is what makes this hobby so exciting. So next time you hold a quarter, look closely. It might just be an ordinary coin. Or it could be the key to an incredible discovery. Thank you for watching and learning about the 1974 Washington Quarter dollar. If you enjoyed this deep dive into rare coin history and want to hear about more coins that could be worth a fortune, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another episode. Until next time, Happy collecting and may your change always bring you treasures.